Closer.
How's it going, man?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm doing well.
So this was a good afternoon for you. I'm glad.
Still to this day, I have some nostalgia for going to the dump.
There's something freeing too about getting rid of junk. It feels good.
It does. No, I agree.
Sometimes they call it an AOC meeting, and I'm like, wait, you guys think the architect's more important than the owner?
Yeah.
I'm like, we call it OAC. I think that's the right way to do it.
I learned early on the value of being a courageous idiot, of just asking the dumb question, and I'm like, oh, no, I totally know what that is and how to do it. I had just never heard that word before. I even did that in an interview one time. The term was benchmarking, and in the interview, they asked me, do you have any experience doing benchmarking? And just in the interview, I went, what's benchmarking? So they explain what benchmarking is, and I go, yeah, I've totally done that, which I had.
What I think you did there, though, if it was the right kind of interviewer, you built trust.
Yeah, putting on that ignorance always leaves room for knowledge. I like that a lot. I'm going to start saying that. To say that, a building still takes a week now and it took a week then, and ignore the fact that we're killing less humans in that week is coconuts.
I got your back there.
Yeah, we looked at it as if it were a machine, and we made this machine as efficient as possible, ignoring that this is a machine of people with feelings and lives and family and friends. If you're respectful and kind to people and you allow them to be who they are, that's the next level of efficiency and productivity that we'll see, that people are able to come to work and be authentic and fulfilled and do their jobs better because they're not wasting energy being bummed out or scared. All of those growth and tools, all of those things were supposed to reduce the number of analysts that were going to be needed to do all of that work. All it's done is increase the number of analysts needed to do all of that work, because it allowed for more data to be sliced and diced faster, more accurately, and better.
I don't want to interrupt you, but it reminds me so much of there's this term going around in Silicon Valley area, the AI vampire phenomenon.
It's going to allow us to do a lot more than we even know or think about right now.
Construction has a storytelling problem, and what you're explaining to me too sounds like a storytelling thing. We got to learn how to tell the narrative in a way that the owner in this case can follow it and understand it and build trust with that. Yeah, I want to start a new initiative with you. We should go worldwide. We're gonna fix the porta potty situation on construction sites. Let's make a bathroom for these workers that's respectable.
That'd be great. And they exist. This is, again, so without getting too high on my soapbox, this is where I do have feelings on owner responsibility and regulation, government responsibility.
Welcome back to Constructive, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Quick update here. My wife had a child almost a month ago now, or more than a month ago now. So I've taken a little break. Thanks, Matt, but yeah, it's been a great period and excited to get back into some constructive episodes. I also have an update in Zero RFI announcement. They came out of stealth. I don't think I got to share that, but working there, enjoying the AI journey. I'm sure Matt and I will get to talk a little bit about some of the fun stuff we think AI will help construction. But Matt Rumsey here today, great guy, working with him. Very sad that I'm not still on the same team, but very happy to be in the same industry. And he's just one of those people that I could feel wants to be part of the rising tide in this industry. And I didn't get a chance to get enough of his background while we were working together. So I said, I've got to try to get that from you, and let's record it while we're at it. So thanks for coming, Matt. And kind of the first question I wanted to ask is, I think you've done a lot of work in construction contracts, and that's probably not something that people grow up saying, I want to study construction contracts. Maybe too, they can start with how you were attracted to the industry in general, but give me the synopsis. How'd you end up doing this?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So what attracted me to it is opportunity. So just with the choices I made younger led me to narrow opportunity, and construction really broadens that for everybody. So I stepped into it as a laborer. I was a driver and a material handler for a construction company, and I worked for a procurement department for
Hmm.
buyers. So I would pick up tools and parts and drop them off at job sites. And sometimes I got to help at the job sites.
Was that
And
job, like, a little bit fun? Was the culture interesting? Like
yeah, it was a ton of fun. The culture
yeah.
was really, really interesting. I got to see both office and field. Still to this day, I have some nostalgia for going to the dump, because one of the things I got to do was clean up job sites. So I would go when the job was done, fill my truck up with the debris, go to the dump, and throw garbage at garbage, which was a ton of fun. And so I still have that as a special place in my heart where
I love
I
the
enjoy
dump
going to
too.
the dump.
It's like, I think it's a great place to bring a kid. Like, I'm really excited about bringing my 2 sons to the dump.
Yep. Yeah, I got to bring mine, goodness, just maybe 2 weeks ago or so. And yeah, my younger one got it. He was like, "You're crazy. This is dumb. It stinks. It's noisy." And we get out of the truck, and I'm like, "Watch, throw this piece of concrete over at that, broken whatever it was." And he hucks it, and he's like, "Ah, yes, no, I get it. I get it.
And
Yeah,
there's something freeing too about getting rid of junk. It feels good.
it does. No, I agree. Yeah. So no, it was fun. It was a great experience, and it exposed me to all these different things, and that's what bumped me into procurement. And
With
and
some of
then
that too,
there
did
I
you,
go.
like, were there little frustrating things about that job that you were like, "Man, I kinda wanna get a sense of the bigger picture and maybe, like, help this job." Was it partially driven by that or no?
No, I mean, not at the time. I mean, I wish I could say yes, that I was some sort of prodigy, but no, at the time,
You weren't thinking big picture yet, you were just
not at all. And I'm ashamed to say that I was, how old was I when this in this story here? I'm 17, so I was
your
very
brain
young.
hadn't finished growing yet.
Yeah, very, very young. Yeah, so no, no, not big picture. Very small picture, just what's right in front of me.
Okay, so you end up in more of a procurement role, tell me about that.
Yeah, so moved into procurement, and that really exposed me to all the different parts of the company. So the construction firm I worked for at that time had lots of different service lines: electrical, data, fire suppression, and all the things. And procurement touches all of those. It touches finance, it touches all the vendors, all the job sites. So it really exposed me to how kind of a whole company works and interacts, and I really enjoyed that. That was amazing exposure that I should not have got from where I was. But that's really the beauty of construction, is you can just sort of stumble into this opportunity where anybody and everybody can kind of do anything and everything if just show up on time and work really hard and move fast, and they
Are
kind of
those
put you in spots.
Are those bigger companies? Like, I know Jacobs is, but what was the other one, Ikely or something? Like, was there a ton of systems in place? Like, did you have a learning curve going from being a driver to now doing this? Were you being trained a lot? Did you appreciate the kind of training that was built in? Did it help you? Curious.
Yeah. So moving from small companies to big companies, definitely culture and system and tool shock on how things would work. And even on the terminology, what was a shock. It would be interesting talking with people and not always understanding what they were saying with the terms,
This
but when
happened
they
to me
would,
so much in
go,
my career, especially early,
yeah,
hopefully less now, but even now, like, I'm like, "Wait, do you mean this or that?" Like,
yeah,
do you talk to anybody in New York? Because sometimes they call it an AOC meeting, and I'm like, "Wait, you guys think the architect's more important than the owner?" I'm
yeah.
like, "We call it OAC. I think that's the right way to do it."
Yeah, and then but then through context clues, or I would ask. I learned early on the value of being a courageous idiot, of just asking the dumb question, and I'm like, oh, no, no, I totally know what that is and how to do it. I had just never heard that word before.
Yeah.
so that was a fun growing. I even did that in an interview one time. I was moving into, it was a big utility. I'm interviewing for this job, and
Yeah, do you
in the
remember the specifics? I kind of want to hear what the term was.
I do. I 100% was. The term was benchmarking.
Okay.
And in the interview, they asked me, do you have any experience doing benchmarking? And just in the interview, I went, what's benchmarking?
I think that's the right freaking answer if that's where you're at.
So they explain what benchmarking is, and I go, yeah, yeah, I've totally done that, which I had when I worked in inventory management.
What I think you did there, though, if it was the right kind of interviewer, you built trust.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just I didn't call it benchmarking when I did it, but I had access to all of the other warehouses, inventory pricing, and their supply chain information, and I would use that information when making my choices and moving inventory around. So I had done it. I just did not know to call it that because my journey, and I don't advocate for taking a journey that doesn't include formal education, but my journey did not include formal education. So, a lot of these things I stumble into doing them without, knowing what I'm doing.
I
So,
think that gives you, I mean, I'm sure there's cons to it, but there's an advantage to it where it's like you're actually always continuing to learn. If you bring that curiosity and you just say, it's okay, I didn't study this at school or read a bunch of books about it, I'm going to just ask questions and you might learn more right answers than otherwise that way.
that's a really good spin onto putting on that. Ignorance always leaves room for knowledge. I like that a lot. I'm gonna start saying that. Yeah. So
And
no,
it,
yeah, and that's how I grew into contracts, was from procurement. And procurement, led me into inventory, and then I fell into subcontracts and contracts, which, that's what mushed into project and program management and controls, and it's embarrassing to say how long ago this career was, but I mean, I started working full time in 96. I just started sort of stacking on all these different experiences at different companies, doing slightly different things in slightly different ways, all around in construction, which has built what I think is a really well-rounded, solution-oriented sense that I bring to a lot of different problems, and I'm
you
able to bring those
I
different
don't
things
want
to
to
that.
jump ahead here, but we'll jump around. So save that spot in your career. We might come back to that exact spot. But you've sat kind of in an owner role at PG&E, I would call, and you've been on the GC side at Gilbane and
Yep.
in more of a consulting role now. And you've seen projects probably go sideways in all of those roles. Like,
Yep.
do you feel like in those seats, like which one kind of sees the problem first, which one usually owns it, and how does that, tell me some of your perspective.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So owner, they use the term owner. There's really two different types of owners. There's owners like the PG&Es that are long-term, forever, repetitive owners that also behave like GCs. And that's very different than other owners I've been at that are one-time, short-term, non-repetitive owners.
Totally.
That pay to build a building, and now they own a building, and that was kind of their thing. So I would
Can you
say the
call those
long
things owner developer, or is that too
yeah.
simplistic?
No, that I think that's a good way to classify it.
Yeah.
So I would say the long-term owners, the PG&Es, they definitely see those things coming sooner, but they have a resiliency and a wisdom where they continue in spite of it. It's an interesting space to be in. It's an
Is it out of
interesting
prioritizing speed a
mitigation.
little bit too, though?
What was that?
They want to get projects done as part of
Yep,
that motivation, right? They need speed
exactly
and
right.
they're just like, we're gonna make mistakes. Let's keep pushing and
It's built
try
into
to
the
avoid
plan.
the ones we can.
Yes, 100%. It's built into the plan, and it's built into the budget. It's built into the schedule. That's how they did it last year and the year before, and it's with the mindset of of harm reduction, incremental improvement. This year's not going to be perfect. We're shooting that this year is going to be better than last year. Next year is going to be better than this year. None of the years are going to be perfect. Something's going to go wrong on each of the years. So that's a very interesting mindset. Where when I was at Ikely and we were supporting kind of those one-time owners, and their drive and mindset was very different on what that looked like, and that was a very unique experience as well, because that project was at a mine trying to get to a product that was going to produce profit. So there was no profit until we were done, and they were watching the market value of that product and racing that. So the value of money was interesting for that one.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
was very interesting, but it was a very different mindset on what it looked like. There was a different level of resiliency and wisdom that came with that, and a different risk relationship. And then how to communicate that, when you're managing that construction for that type of owner versus managing construction for a PG&E type owner, and how you have to do it differently. You have to adapt and overcome. You can't do it the exact same way.
Yeah, thinking now. Yeah, let's go back to what happened after. So you're in procurement roles, and you end up kind of pulling into the operational side, but more from a management perspective. Like, talk about that transition.
Yeah, that was tough. That was difficult to do. Some of my earlier leadership spots, I moved to leadership from being in the team. So I went from a team member to a leader of the team. And I don't recommend that at all. That was hard. I would definitely chalk that up to a failure. I did not make that shift well. Showing up as a leader and a manager is much easier to do. I would recommend that to anybody. And it was difficult, and I think this is a common challenge. This isn't unique to me at all, but learning the shift of getting things done versus doing things is a tricky thing to do. And now in consulting, I have to do both simultaneously. And I have to change my elevation as well. So I have to do big picture thinking and in the weeds thinking. I have to do my own spreadsheets and lead a team that's managing a portfolio of things. But all of those growth and struggle, I think set me up well to do all of that shifting that I do now in my consulting role. But no, it was difficult. It was difficult to shift from a doer to a manager, and then to a leader, because different those are different things.
Totally. What would you say to people that are like thinking about making that transition? Like, I want more responsibility. My leadership above me sucks because they're not doing this, this, and this. And like, I was there too. Like, I'm not judging the younger people that complain about their higher ups all the time, but like, I've got a lot of things to say to some of those people now, to myself. I wish I had been able to tell myself. Getting exposure to more bigger picture stuff now, it brings a new perspective. But give those of us out there that haven't made a big jump in their leadership abilities like the real picture of like what you're going to face when you move from just billing your time to now you're writing checks and receiving checks.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I would say, man, first off, not to get stuck in cynicism, but just as a precursor to what I'm about to say, there is nothing we can say to them that they're going to listen to, hear, or is going to land, period. There's nothing that they could have said to you or I that we would have that's just the nature of how it is. Having said that, I would say it's a lot that you are asking for. It's more than you understand. The weight of decision making is surprisingly burdensome and exhausting, surprisingly so. And just to be wary of what that looks like, and managing the well-being of others is also a weight and burdensome. So when you need to make sure that more than just you are being productive and fulfilled, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. So being busy, it looks very different at that level than it does at the level that you're at. So I would just say, choose it for the right reasons. Don't do anything out of anger or spite or out of a negative emotion.
Mhm.
If you feel that you could bring something better and improvement, then do it with those emotions and passion and drive. Don't do it with the emotion, passion, and drive of tearing down what's there. Do it with the emotion, passion, and drive of improving what's there. Yeah.
I love
Because
it.
either way, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. I mean, and we'll probably get back into the people side of it, but I kind of want to shift into just let's talk about the construction industry. I think from a big picture sense, I just kind of wanted to bring up the cliche these days. Everybody's talking about productivity hasn't gotten better in decades, maybe 100 years. Do you feel like there's just so much out there on LinkedIn? I'm getting sick of like, what's the answer? Is it AI? Is it people? Is it what? Do you have a perspective? And I'd love for you to flesh it out as much as you can. Like, why haven't we gotten better at productivity in our industry?
Well, so first off, I don't know if that's true.
Fair.
Having said that, because I mean we're building such more amazing things, so I don't know if we're comparing apples to apples.
Yeah. And
So the
safety regulation, you got to
yeah,
factor some of that in.
we're doing so much better. I mean, there was a time that they would budget deaths into construction, and now deaths are unacceptable.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a huge improvement in productivity.
Fair.
So to say that, a building still takes a week now and it took a week then, and ignore the fact that we're killing less humans in that week is coconuts.
I got your back there.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and then now to step down one level down, that we're poisoning less waterways, we're poisoning less air. I mean, I think we are not looking at the whole picture of what we are accomplishing in that 1 week timeline when we are comparing 1 week to 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a false comparison.
Okay, fine. That's the prerequisite to this question is
All
like,
right, all right, all right,
how
right.
do we
Yeah,
get
sorry.
a
I'm
little
not trying to be
better?
argumentative, but yeah.
How do we improve? Do you have
How
low
do
hanging
we?
fruit?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And that is the big question. So I read a book, I don't know, maybe 10 or so years ago now. And I'll do a little plug for it. I'm probably going to plug it wrong. It's called Humanity Works. And in that book, they talk about productivity in general, not specifically to construction, but in general. And they talk about how we've over time, we've done all the lean Six Sigma, we've reorganized how offices are laid out, offices to cubes, cubes to tables, processes to this. We have computers, we have email, all these things. And we've seemed to like hit kind of a plateau in human behavior. And what their take is, and I agree with it, is what we overlooked was the human factor of it. Is we've crushed out and fleshed out all of these function things. We looked at it as if it were a machine, and we made this machine as efficient as possible, ignoring that this is a machine of people with feelings and lives and family and friends. So, we run into these burnout scenarios, and there's no more pensions, there's no more retirements. We could also talk a lot about the discrepancy of the highest paid to the lowest paid. But anyway, and this book just talks a lot about how to bring back treating humans like humans in the workplace. And then that's the title of the book, Humanity Works. If we engage our coworkers and our employees as humans and be respectful and kind, not soft, you don't remove accountability, and you
Hmm.
don't, you don't take away that part of it. You still have to do your job and do your job well. But if you're respectful and kind to people and you allow them to be who they are, that's the next level of efficiency and productivity that we'll see, that people are able to come to work and be authentic and fulfilled and do their jobs better because they're not wasting energy being bummed out or scared or crushed.
It's a really good point because I do have a suspicion that there are a huge portion of people working in this world that don't want to be at their job and do the bare minimum, and in fact probably skirt their responsibilities and try to hide it. And I don't blame those people either. Like you, I say we need to give them opportunities to find fulfillment and purpose, and we need to reward them for their hard work. And but I also think there is an element of like, if we make their job, we have to make their job more fulfilling then. And I think part of that is like what I'm seeing through what we're trying to do is like, let's automate all the manual data manipulation that actually is more error prone to. Let's automate everything where we're staring at spreadsheet cells and doing different things, analytics that's really manual. There's a way to get really good results from AI now. I've been taking this training and learning about workflows versus agents and how to make the system more deterministic and to bring the temperature down to zero so that it only picks the right result and you can point it specifically at a database. So I think we really should be able to automate a lot of these really technical tasks that keep us in front of our computer. And I think part of that, the reason I'm motivated to do that is not just for automation's sake or AI's sake, but for what you're talking about, which I think if we spent less time being frustrated about versions of spreadsheets and file names and who sent what email and which person chose this material type and did it change over time, like if all that stuff was easier for us to keep track of, which I think we just need to get AI at work on those things and have it help us remind us. Yeah, do you think there's like a lot there to like we need to work on the technical processes and workflows of this industry and streamline them, or do you see a different low hanging fruit?
Yeah, so maybe, quite possibly. So I'll full disclaimer on the relationship between me and AI. It is, I would say, almost zero. I've barely started to try and use it. I think I had AI make me one graphic last week, and I struggled a little bit. I understood kind of how to do the prompts, and I figured it out. We worked it out together, and then we went from there on it. So I think it's a great tool, and I think we could figure out how to use it, and I think it can definitely solve a lot of the problems that we encounter. And I've seen some of its work output, and I think it can save time on the first drafts. And I think keeping the human part of it, doing the QA, QC, and bringing that add value experience to it, being like, oh, thanks AI for this. This is a great starting point. Now I'm going to add all of my, who's it's and what's it's from it. I think that's a great place to go from it. And I'll share a little anecdotal story about technology and tools. My spouse works for a big company, multi-billion dollars. They do huge projects, and their projects, they have to do earned value management for those projects. And they've been there for 20 plus years. And when they started there, they're in project controls, so data analytics. And when they started there, they overlapped with the previous generation of folks, and they remember like drawing charts. Like before PowerPoint, they were drawing on paper the pie graphs that they would present. So from that time to this time, all of the growth in tools, we're talking Excel, PowerPoint, Power BI, all of those growth in tools, all of those things were supposed to reduce the number of analysts that were going to be needed to do all of that work. All it's done is increase the number of analysts needed to do all of that work because it allowed for more data to be sliced and diced faster, more accurately, and better.
I don't want to interrupt you, but it reminds me so much of like there's this term going around in Silicon Valley area, the AI vampire phenomenon. And it's like the concept is all these coders are getting AI enabled and they're building bots like 10 of themselves that they just give direction to. And they say, direct this one, let it go for 10 minutes, create a new bot, direct it, go for 10 minutes. And then they're doing 10 times the amount of work, right? And they're all saying, I now have so much work to do that I'm staying up all night as well. And you're like, you just said you're 10 times more efficient and you have 100 times more work now? And
Yeah,
the theory is like, especially in the software world, which is kind of what you're getting at, it's like, if you can create software faster, every piece you create will make you think of 10 more that you should
yeah,
create on top of it. So, and there's not really like a shortage of there's no limitation. You can just keep
correct,
coding. So,
correct. So that's what I see. I see AI being another one of these amazing tools. I mean, I don't think this takes from AI at all, where it's going to allow us to do a lot more than we even know or think about right now. So, when people talk about, just like we've done with other tools, that it's going to replace or change or remove, we're not understanding what that next level is that it's bringing us to. And it's like, oh, we can do so much more. We actually need a few more people because it opened up this whole new world of stuff that we didn't even know was possible. Like now we can do, I don't know, like real time whoop whoop whoop. So now I need two people doing this thing to keep up with what AI is doing and busting this out. So yeah, I think AI and automating those items and streamlining that tool so that there's less typing but a quicker output that allows the analysts to do more strategic thinking and actual analysis and cleaning up and refining that output so that their analyst isn't doing the typing and the data entry. Now the analyst mind is one step removed and able to think even bigger. Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic, and they would probably love that.
you might be the right person. I've been thinking about this concept for a while. I kind of want to ask it to a bunch of people, but in a vague sense, I'll let you take it any direction. I'm not going to be specific, but project management versus project controls, like briefly, what are the two? And then, like, where does that line sit and who do you put in charge? Like if they're fighting.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Who do you put in charge if they're fighting? I mean, project management is in charge. So project controls to me is recording the facts of the situation.
Yeah.
This is the plan. This is what's happening now. If we keep doing what's happening, this is what's going to happen. So it's that and the projecting based on those facts and then aligning with what we thought were the facts. So it's a reporting thing, but not a decision maker, not an accountable party outside of that. Like if they fail to do that, they're accountable to do that. But the project manager is accountable to make decisions. So bad project manager would ignore those facts, not change direction, not pursue those things. Yeah, but the project manager, I mean, they're ideally, if there's a conflict between the two, then that would be a bad project manager, hands
Fair.
down,
Yeah.
hands down. Because a project manager can choose to continue down the path that they're on and just overrun or exceed the schedule or do whatever. But a project manager that would disagree with actuals is foolish. That's silly. Or disagree that continued behavior would, like projection, be like, nah, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to keep getting what I'm getting.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, a good
So,
project controls team should be the project manager's best friend, right? Like,
agreed.
please
100%.
help me see what's happening so I can avoid bottlenecks and hurdles.
Hands down.
You
Hands
talked
down.
about EVM. I spent a lot of time tracking some of those schedule performance indicator, cost performance indicator, all these metrics. And there's other systems too. I think about how we do project controls, and everywhere I go, it seems to be like, this is my favorite metric to track. Do you think sometimes we're focused on the wrong stuff. Can you name some stuff? Like, is there a right metric to track, and or is it just not that simple?
It's not that simple because all of the data is important, and you need to understand the data's relationship to one another. I remember when I was at PG&E and they brought up a report. I forget when it was during the year. Let's say it was halfway through the year, and they're like, "Hey guys, great news! You know, we're X million dollars under budget." And it's like, all right, well, where are we at on getting the work done? Like, is this like is this savings or is this underperformance? Like, we're missing an important data set here. So, that, but a lot of people would say, oh, well, budget is the most important data point. And it's like, well, budget is irrelevant without status. A construction project can be under budget the whole time if you just never mobilize. Bam. Yeah. Under budget. Yeah. I'm at zero the whole time. Bang. Where's my bonus?
Yeah, totally. It's
But
good.
no, and you need that status. So anywho,
Do you think I've been in a, I'll be humble enough to admit, like on construction projects, even in management roles, maybe especially, there are a lot of moments where you're just like, things got crazy and I don't know what to do or how to fix it. I've seen like kind of out of fear, people kind of freeze and do nothing, like, is there something where like the S just hit the fan? Like, could you give us advice, like what to do this week? Like, is it about having some face-to-face conversations? That's kind of my go-to. But beyond that, like, is there any way to pull when things just go crazy? What's your first go?
yes. So my first go to, which doesn't help the problem, but it helps me, is I clean my desk. So I take everything off of my desk, spray it down, I wipe it down, I put everything back on my desk. And then I begin to address whatever the actual problem is. And then I organize the problem, and it's with identifying whatever that is. And then it's, to your point on the face to face, is addressing it just head on with
Yeah.
with what that is. So was it my last job? Yeah, before I started working with this firm, I was I that's when I really got experience in like organizational leadership. I got to sit on a senior leadership team. So folks would bring me their like big problem. Like I have this big issue and the client's going to be mad. Like, what do I do? And 9 times out of 10, it was just came down to, can you fix the issue? Yes or no? If you can't fix the issue, then we need to tell the client the issue.
Have a hard conversation. That was the thing I was gonna say next too, is like be willing to have hard conversations.
Yeah, and just say it. The sooner the better. And
Rip
just
the
say the
band-aid
thing.
off, right?
Yeah.
5 or 10 years from now, how do you think roles like ours are gonna change drastically? I know there's a lot, but you got
I
specifics?
I don't think they are. So
Okay.
yeah, I really don't.
Talk to me about serving an owner in the construction industry right now. Like, what are they concerned with? Maybe you can only speak to specific sectors, but like, what is in the zeitgeist of the owner right now? What are they looking for out of people like us trying to help them build stuff?
So trust. Trust is a big part. Understanding that whatever is happening should be happening, and it's okay that they're not being ripped off or duped, and that this is the right thing, and they're getting what's best for them. That's the owner's rep role.
Do you think owners right now want more hands-on and more information, or do they want less? Like, go just take care of it and make it faster and cheaper. Or are they like, now you need to share the schedule and the budget and dig into line items? Or what's the.
So they're not a monolith. It's going to be person to person, and you have to see what they feel like and how they trust you. So you need to be ready to have all of those details for a layman to understand. So don't dump on them to full P6 Gantt chart with all the who's it's and what's it's. I mean, you're going to have that tool for sure,
Yeah.
because you never know. You might, you're the owner might be an engineer by education and might want to dig into this, who knows. but you want to have ready the reports in a very clear way with all the details to explain with confidence. And that's what I meant by our roles not changing much. The value that we bring to it is that very clear, confident communication that whether it's going well or not well, we understand how it's going. We know what happened to get us here. We know what's happening right now, and we know what we're going to do tomorrow about it. And we've experienced it before.
It's kind of funny what you're describing, like in podcasting and in my hobby worlds, it's mostly creative. So I did a lot of video work and stuff, but I think a lot about storytelling. And I always think that construction has a storytelling problem. And what you're explaining to me too sounds like a storytelling thing. We got to learn how to tell the narrative in a way that the owner in this case can follow it and understand it and build trust with us, because they start to believe, oh, he or she is actually like tracking my project and figuring out ways to get it to the finish line and keep my budget. I think we need to be better storytellers. Do you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spot on. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. And the first step to that is knowing the story, right?
Yeah.
If you truly know the project and what's going on and all that stuff, then you can speak to it confidently.
You're probably also in a position where you evaluate, maybe you guys are doing kind of buy build things too, but you probably evaluate a lot of construction tech. What do you think is working right now? What are people doing well? Or what would you want to tell the construction tech industry to focus on if you could?
That's a really good question. At a high level, it would be focus on the construction workers themselves. So I see some things sometimes that come out that are shiny and awesome to sell to maybe the construction company owner, which might be a good profit margin to that company that made the thing. But if we can make things nicer and safer for the worker, then that'll go a long way. I mean, all of the little advancements. I mean, even just in their tool bags, right? I mean, even just having nicer suspenders so that it's not hanging weird on their waist or cutting into their shoulders. I mean, that was a huge advancement that happened just in yours and my lifetime in the industry. I mean, that was a big deal.
Yeah, I want to like start a new initiative with you. We should go worldwide. We're going to fix the porta potty situation on construction sites. Like, let's make a bathroom for these workers that's like respectable.
That'd be great. And they exist. They exist. This is, again, so without getting too high on my soapbox, this is where I do have feelings on owner responsibility and regulation, government responsibility. So nicer porta potties exist that can be put on these job sites, but somebody needs to pay for them. And capitalism has lots of pros, but one of capitalism's cons is the construction company, well, they aren't. The data shows they aren't gonna cut into their profit if an owner isn't going to pay them more for it, or the government isn't going to require them to provide those. And nobody's evil in this scenario. It's just what it is.
I just think you're right. Like what you were getting at, I think is real in that, like, if we make the job more enjoyable and easier to be effective at the bottom, the impact is going to be larger than just pleasing a CEO.
Yes, 100%. Hands down. All day, every day.
Now, this is really cool. Let's do a follow-up at some point. I like to say, like, come back in a year and we'll talk about what's changed, because I think a lot will have. But reach out to Matt on LinkedIn. I'll try to find that book you mentioned and link it in the comments. But anything else you want me to plug? Or
No, that's all I could think of. No, it was great. Yeah, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much, Seth.
Cool. Appreciate you, Matt.